Oh, you thought ghosting her like a sulky teenager would make her miss you? That's adorable. You really believe playing the silent game in 2025 is a master plan. Congrats! You just invented the desperate mute button! While you're out there thinking you're the love whisperer, she's at a rooftop bar, laughing with some other guy, posting a slick Instagram reel with a caption like onward and upward, and probably has a backup dude in case the waiter takes too long. You call it emotional strategy. She calls it a warm-up. Because while you're vanishing, thinking you're leaving a void, she's drowning in options. And you know why. Your disappearance isn't mysterious. It's a tantrum. It's the guy version of slamming a door and hoping someone chases after you with a "What's wrong, babe?" Spoiler alert, no one's coming. The problem is you haven't learned to ghost with swagger. Your silence isn't sexy. It's screaming, "Please notice me," with a side of last-ditch effort before I cry in the shower. And women, my friend, have a nose for desperation. They can sniff out a guy begging for attention even if he's gone radio silent, offline, and buried his phone in the backyard. You're not disappearing. You're sulking passive-aggressively. And her? She doesn't chase predictable guys, because women don't get hooked on what they can figure out. They're addicted to what unravels them, what pulls the rug out, what feels untouchable even when it's standing right in front of them. That's what this video is about. It's about ditching the rejected puppy act, waiting for a pat on the head, and stepping up as a man who vanishes with surgical precision, who doesn't send signals, who leaves echoes, who walks out of her life and leaves an emotional crater, not a whiny post-it note begging for a second shot. Today I'm dropping 10 detachment techniques that don't just flip the script. They bury her ego with a psychological shovel and a smirk. Fair warning. If you're still clinging to the nice guy fantasy, thinking ignoring her will spark her feelings, this ain't for you. This is for the guys ready to become a walking enigma. A stylish nightmare. A forever question mark with a fresh fade. Now, do your homework. Like, subscribe, drop a gratitude in the comments, not for me, but for the algorithm. Even YouTube knows a reality check is a public service. Enough sugarcoating. Let's get to the punch. Number 1. The signature absence. The line between basic and emotional chaos architect. The classic beta move is to vanish like a dismissed notification. Wipe your socials, delete your profile pic, stop replying, and think it'll make her world quake. Spoiler, she just updates her contacts and keeps it moving. Because your absence is bland, dry, tasteless like office break room coffee. That kind of absence doesn't create a void, it creates relief. But the guy who knows the game? The smooth villain she claims to hate but stalks at 2 a.m.? He doesn't just disappear, he crafts a vacuum with his name on it. He doesn't run, he steps back, leaving footprints. He posts a cryptic story that says everything without saying a word. Swaps his profile pic for something neutral, calculated to look effortless but sharper than a PhD thesis. And that's when her mind starts spiraling. Something's shifted, but she can't pin it down. No fight, no drama, just silence, a frequency change. And that uncertainty, that negative presence, eats at her ego like acid on a mirror. Women don't lose sleep over what you say, they lose it over what you stop explaining. An unsigned absence is a page turned. A signed absence is a ghost, popping up mid-afternoon, during her shower, in the eyes of the next guy. She tries to shake it, forget it, decode it. But the harder she tries, the more you become an urban legend in her head. You don't want to be forgotten. You want to be remembered with a grudge. The why she can never answer. Predictable guys vanish. Men who master the art of absence haunt. Number 2. The unannounced silence. The emotional torture that crumbles her ego faster than a cookie in a storm. The predictable guy's fatal flaw is announcing his exit like it's a press release. I need space, he says, thinking he's the star of a rom-com. Meanwhile, she's already flirting with someone new, firing off fire emojis on Instagram, and picking her next soulmate. Because an announcement is a gift-wrapped cliché, cute, obvious, disposable. Anything with a manual gets tossed after one read, but the lethal man, the maestro of cold indifference, doesn't say a word. He doesn't hint, explain, or leave breadcrumbs. He vanishes, erases himself like he was never there, like their whole connection was just a figment of her imagination, and maybe it was. That's when the real meltdown kicks in. She doesn't know if you're bored, dead with someone else, or chilling in a monastery. Her mind turns into a haunted amusement park, each ride a new theory about why you evaporated. And that's what stings. Women don't go crazy over answers, they lose it over endless questions. She doesn't fall for the guy who explains himself. She's hooked on the one who forces her to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. When you disappear without a trace, you inject her with the most addictive drug, chronic doubt. She starts stalking, rereading old texts, hunting for clues in your silence. She posts vague shade, provokes, tests. And you hit back with the only weapon that truly destroys nothing. Because a cold man's silence isn't absence, it's psychological warfare. He doesn't beg, justify, or clap back. He charges. And he charges steep in installments of wounded pride, plummeting self-esteem, and sleepless nights. Because in the end, unannounced silence isn't a response, it's a verdict. And the execution is slow, cruel, and inevitable. Number 3. The soulless reply. The refined cruelty that makes ghosting look like a hug. Still stuck on the fairy tale that ignoring her texts is peak coldness. That leaving her on red will shatter her ego. That's cute. And painfully naive. Ghosting is old news. She sends a message already expecting your silent act. She's got the script memorized. And you know what that gives her? Comfort. Control. She knows the next scene. What really knocks her off balance is the surgical reply. The response that lands without a pulse, no warmth, no trace of feeling. You reply, but like she's a telemarketer pushing a bad internet plan with the indifference of someone who couldn't care less. A cool, a nice, a yep. Monosyllables that hit harder than a 500-word essay on I'm over you. And that's when the chaos starts. It's not the words, it's the weight of your disinterest. The absence of any emotional spark. Ghosting leaves room for hope. She might think you're hurt, playing hard to get, or just sulking. But a soulless reply? That doesn't lie. It slaps her with a truth she didn't want to face. You've stopped caring. And nothing unravels a woman more than realizing she's still trying to get a reaction. From a brick wall. From a man who's unshaken, unmoved, untouchable. She tries everything. Posts a cryptic quote, curates her stories, sends a passive-aggressive emoji, or a how you holding up with that I'm still here, right tone. But deep down, all she wants is to know she still has some pull over you. And what do you give her? A fine, cold, lethal, surgical. The kind that doesn't just answer her text. It answers the question she never asked. Do I still matter? Nope. And she feels that in her bones. Number 4. The Climax Ghost. The art of yanking the rug out when she thinks she's won. Ghosting out of spite. Any insecure kid can do that. Disappearing after she ignores you? Congrats, you're as predictable as a cheesy rom-com ending, but vanishing at the peak, the exact moment she's smirking, thinking she's got you wrapped around her finger. Now that's when you prove you've read the Chaos playbook. The real power of detachment isn't in the act of disappearing, it's in the timing. The emotional guy bails after a fight, clutching his dignity like a toddler grabbing his toy from the sandbox. The lethal man, the one who carves trauma with a capital T, ghosts at the climax. He walks away at the height of her confidence, the second she thinks she's won. That's when she lets her guard down, feels invincible. And that's the exact moment you vanish like you never existed. No warning, no drama, no goodbye. What happens next? Emotional implosion. She replays every convo, every text, every moment, trying to figure out what went wrong. First, she blames herself, then you. Then she spirals because nothing adds up. that's when the game flips. Because a climax ghost isn't just stepping back, it's a knockout blow. It's like snatching candy from her mouth right when she thinks she's won the prize. It's breaking the script, shattering her control. Nothing dismantles a woman more than being left when she thought she was untouchable. It hits where it hurts. Her ego, her certainty that she had you locked down. Want to be unforgettable? Stop disappearing when she steps on you. Start vanishing when she thinks she's won. That's not absence. That's premium emotional trauma, limited edition. Number 5, the calm disdain. Stare, the final blow, the silent venom, the visual verdict that buries her ego without a twitch. You can be there breathing, talking, but if your eyes still light up when she speaks, if they flicker with any hint of emotion, congrats, you're just another lovesick fool playing tough. Want to crush her ego with finesse? Want to leave her in ruins without a word? Learn to look at her like you're watching the weather change. Total indifference. True disdain doesn't yell, doesn't rant, doesn't make a scene. It just looks and sees nothing, listens, and doesn't care, responds, and forgets. Your soul's already left the room and she feels it. Because women feed off a man's emotional reflection. If you look at her with desire, she feels like a queen. With anger, she feels relevant. But when you hit her with a blank surgical calm, a dead-eyed stare that's all emptiness, she crumbles. Because that's when she gets it. The show's over. Her control's gone. She's done. And in that invisible panic, she starts overcompensating, dresses sharper, talks louder, forces a smile, tries anything to spark a reaction. But you're a statue. Because real disdain doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be calm enough to scream, "You feel nothing and never will again." That look, the one that once burned for her and now's just frosted glass, will haunt her forever. Because there's no torture worse than realizing you're still there. But you've been gone for a while. Number 6, selective interaction, the art of being online but unavailable. Responding without caring. She hits you up on WhatsApp, all hyped thinking she's about to start a fire, and you reply hours later with a, "Yeah, sure," dry as day-old toast. She comments on your story, fishing for a heart, a compliment, any scrap of attention, and you view it and vanish like you didn't even notice. She tries to spark a convo. You're too busy living your actual life to play along with her digital drama. That's the gap between the guy begging for her presence and the one who's a rare sighting. Selective interaction isn't rudeness, it's strategy. It screams, your time has value, your energy isn't free. You're not here to be an extra in her attention-seeking script. And women, my guy, don't fall for availability. They're obsessed with scarcity. They worship what shows up rarely, replies slowly, and never fully commits. The predictable guy gets consumed and tossed. The unpredictable one? She chases him. When you pop up out of nowhere on a random Tuesday, no warning, no reason, you become a puzzle, an emotional wildcard, delicious chaos. And anything she can't predict becomes an obsession. Selective interaction isn't absence, it's controlled presence. You show up like an eclipse, rare, brief, magnetic, no good morning texts, no free validation, just sharp, cold, calculated words. And the kicker? You're not even trying. That's what keeps her up at night, because the guy who wants nothing is the only one she wants everything from. You're the riddle she can't crack, and the more she tries, the deeper she sinks, because power isn't in what you say, it's in what you hold back. And that, my friend, is slow poison. It doesn't kill at once, but it burns forever. Number 7, cold shoulder compliments, the moment her ego trips and faceplants into reality, while the lovesick crowd rushes to reply, "Aw, I'm thinking of you too," like they're winning an Oscar. The lethal guy just drops an, "I bet." And that's it. Silence. Meltdown. Total chaos. Because when a woman compliments you, reaches out, says, "I missed you," she's not being sweet. She's fishing for confirmation. She wants to know she still got you on a leash, still pushes your buttons, still matters. But you, with a cool, say everything she doesn't want to hear. You're done feeling. No spark, no warmth, no reaction. And that's what breaks her. Because she can't tell if you're playing, cold, hurt, or just over it. That uncertainty is the poison that eats her alive. Cold shouldering her compliments is a clean, polite attack. No yelling, no insults, no rudeness. Just treating her affection like junk mail. Like a notification you swipe away. Her, "I was thinking of you," that used to melt you, now bounces back like it was sent to the wrong number. And that's the hit. Because there's no ego more fragile than a woman's when she realizes her charm's expired, that her magic doesn't work anymore, that her power's gone. And when she sees that even her best smile can't shake you, she implodes. But it's too late. Because you've learned to smile without giving it back. And that to her is the real punishment, not being hated, being irrelevant. Number 8, time control. The ultimate divide between the man who values himself and the one begging like an emotional stray. You reply in seconds, send voice notes like you're auditioning for a romance podcast, apologize for every ghost like you committed a crime, and top it off with a "you good." Congrats. You're not a man, you're her emotional bellhop. Always on call, always available, always predictable. Her personal ego booster. And guess what? Women don't fall for digital doormats, because time is power, and you're giving yours away like free samples. The guy who gets the game. He doesn't dance to her beat. He sets his own. He sees her message, lives his life, and replies when and if he feels like it. And when he does, it's not a needy novel. It's a sharp, polished line that says everything and nothing. Every minute of silence between her text and your reply is a dart to her ego. A reminder she's not your priority, that her drama doesn't run your world. And when she gets annoyed, when she hits you with the classic "wow, you disappeared," thinking she'll throw you off, you smirk inside and fire back with icy venom. Thought you were too busy to miss me. Boom. A jab to her vanity, a kick to her comfort zone, a punch to her illusion of control. Time control isn't cheap charm, it's emotional dominance. It's about not being a button she presses when she needs a hit of validation. It's being unpredictable, impossible to pin down, and therefore irresistible. Because women don't chase fast replies, they chase mystery. And nothing's more addictive than a man who can't be put on a schedule. Number 9. Dangerous detachment. The final evolution where the whining lamb becomes a silent, lethal wolf. There's fake detachment, the performative kind, full of cheesy "learning to love myself" quotes while posting filtered selfies dripping with forced confidence. That pathetic act every heartbroken guy pulls, thinking he's fooling anyone. Spoiler, he's only fooling himself. But real detachment, the kind that destroys without raising its voice, is different. It's dangerous. It's what happens when you go quiet. And your silence outweighs 1,000 rants. When you see her fishing for attention with provocative posts, fake laughs, curated likes, and you don't budge, because true detachment doesn't shout, doesn't dramatize, doesn't need an audience. It just doesn't care. And that breaks her. Because she's used to the drama. The guy who pines, chases, begs. But now, you're an elegant void. You don't ignore her out of spite, you do it out of pure indifference. Because she didn't lose the old you. She lost the new you. The one born when you stopped begging. The cold, quiet, untouchable version. And the worst punishment isn't seeing you with someone else. It's seeing you become someone who doesn't come back. Someone who doesn't feel. Someone who's already cried. And now glides past her like a breeze, silent, scentless, traceless. Dangerous detachment is just that. Not a tantrum, not a scene. It's pure evolution. The calm after the storm. The man who felt too much and now feels nothing. And for a woman who fed off your affection, that's a slow death sentence. Because no one misses a man more than the woman who realizes he's learned to live without her. Number 10. The absence that doesn't return. The ultimate nightmare for someone who thought they had you in their pocket. She thought it was just a phase. That you were playing hard to get. that your ghosting was just another act in the emotional drama she knew by heart. Deep down, she was sure you'd come crawling back. With that sheepish look, those flimsy excuses she pretended to buy just to keep the game alive, because to her you were a sure bet. But this time, you didn't. Or worse, you came back, but it wasn't you. It was a different vibe, a different man. Cold, quiet, unstoppable. No hunger for her attention, no thirst for her affection, no trace of the spark that used to flare just hearing her voice. Her hey that once lit you up now gets a dry Her texts that used to move you are just noise now. The plans you made with her, swapped for a life that's all yours, and she, poor thing, falls apart. Because what cuts isn't your physical absence, it's the absence of your soul. You didn't block her, didn't make a scene, you just left for real. Cut the bond, not the contact. Rebuilt yourself in silence until you became someone she can't read anymore. And that's when her world crashes. Because she lost, not the old weak you. The new you. The one who doesn't return, doesn't react, doesn't need her to know who he is. And the worst part? She doesn't know when she lost you. She just feels the void. Realizes that while she's trying to rerun the old script, you've written a new movie with a new tone, new rhythm, new ending. Now you're the one who ghosts, without rushing, responds, without effort, lives, without baggage, because you learned that loving too much was the mistake. And real absence doesn't announce itself. It just happens, and it never comes back. Climax, the cold reunion scene, the final act where she learns too late that the script's changed and you're no longer hers. She sees you, months later, clinging to the naive hope that you're still the same guy, the one who bent over backward for her smile, who lingered like a shadow just to stay close, who traded dignity for crumbs of affection. But what she finds now is something else. A thick silence. A stare that cuts through. A presence that carries no emotional weight. You don't flinch, don't stutter, don't shift your tone. You're solid, a ghost in human form. And she, of course, tries to revive the old script, laughs too loud, overplays her charm, fakes disinterest with the pathetic act of someone who cares too much, digs for memories, whispering, "Remember me?" without the guts to say it outright. But you don't bite, because the game's over and you're in the audience, watching her sad little show as she tries to reclaim a power that slipped through her fingers. She asks if you missed her, hopes for a yes, a flicker, an echo of the man you were. And you, with a chilling calm, with the serenity of someone who won without fighting, say, "You miss me now? Too bad. I don't feel a thing." Silence. Her smile cracks, her pride fractures, and you stand there unfazed. No rush, no pain, no anger. Because real power isn't in yelling, blocking, or hitting back. It's in being so different that all she can do is regret. You're the riddle now. The memory that doesn't hurt but doesn't fade. The absence no one else can fill. Because they might kiss better, talk smoother, promise louder, but none will carry the weight of your silence. None will match the sting of your absence, because none will be you. And in the end, you don't come back. She's the one who realizes she lost. Not in a fight, not in a scene, but in the worst moment possible, when she thought she still had you. Too late. Because now you're not the happy ending. You're the final one. Final wrap. The mark of an unforgettable man. You can keep playing the pathetic role of the lovesick fool, writing love letters to someone who's already torn them up, chasing someone who only notices you when she needs an ego boost. You can keep explaining yourself, trying to convince someone who's already checked out. Or you can choose the other path, the one that doesn't ask permission, doesn't announce itself, doesn't beg, the cold path. Because the man who masters silence isn't forgotten. He's etched in her memory like a brand. He's not an ex, he's a benchmark, a trauma with a name. The one she's too scared to mention but can't stop thinking about every time she tries to feel something for someone else. Real detachment isn't posting "I'm moving on" quotes through tears. It's looking into the eyes of the woman who once had you wrapped around her finger and feeling nothing. It's vanishing without an audience, reappearing without a care to stay. It's making your absence the cruelest reminder of all. She had you, and she blew it. Badly. Because while she's out there staging her usual drama, you've become silence. While she's collecting likes to get your attention, you're pure absence. While she pretends she's over you, you're actually living. The man who gets this game doesn't stoop anymore, doesn't beg, doesn't crawl. Because he's become rare, a dying breed, an emotional impact with a timestamp and a trademark. And when she tries to come back, you're already gone. Now she's the one begging. She's the one feeling. She's the one burning inside with a simple, "You've changed, but you didn't change." You found yourself, and you realize the silence that was once your weakness is now your weapon, and the cold she made you feel. It's now a permanent winter in her heart. Because there's no punishment worse than her realizing every single day that the man she thought she controlled is the one she'll never have again.